Hi there, and welcome to Type Student. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the graphic design of the United States Army. You've probably seen this poster before. I Want You for the U.S. Army, designed in 1916 by illustrator James Montgomery Flagg, is one of the most iconic images in U.S. history, portraying American patriotism as the character of Uncle Sam. Of course, before it was a poster, it was on the cover of the magazine Leslie's Weekly, almost an entire year before the U.S. actually entered World War I, with the words, "What are you doing for preparedness?" This was hardly the first instance of Uncle Sam and national personification of the United States on Army recruitment posters, but it was a powerful image that influenced design for decades to come, although itself was also likely taken from this Alfred Leet poster in 1914. The first visual design that represented the Army was the War Office seal, created in 1778 during the American Revolutionary War. This seal would stick for almost the next 170 years before being replaced after World War II. However, this seal was really only used to sign documents and wasn't necessarily used as an actual logo for the Army. To see what Army posters and graphic design really looked like in the 1800s, we have to understand the design trends at the time. Print media was the primary form of design and communication in the infancy of the U.S. Army and the world at the time, and indeed the entirety of the 1800s saw slow and steady progress in virtually every area of print design, from new printing presses to photography to chromolithography. Advertising was slow when the most efficient cast iron press in the world could only print a few hundred sheets an hour in 1800, although within 30 years that number had been raised to over 4,000. Here are some examples of Army advertising around the Civil War era. They're almost all entirely typography-based, as photography was mostly still in its infancy, and lithography was still limited. Machine-cut wood type was also an integral part of the emerging typography trends. Modern graphic design usually pairs a serif with a sans serif for type design, but this poster alone contains a slab serif, a fat face, a display, another slab, a sans serif, another slab serif, a condensed slab, and another fat face. That's 8 typefaces used for this design alone. Fat face typography came out of London in the early 1800s and was characterized by heavy contrast between the hairline serifs and bold vertical lines. British typographer Vincent Figgins was a pioneer of some of these designs and published a variety of typefaces in the early 1800s, some called lines pica, many of which would either be used or imitated on poster ads and later the official Army logo. The world of poster design changed dramatically in the years leading up to World War I, but they were still more popular than ever. Lithography had become far easier and cheaper to produce posters with because of leaps made in the 1880s, partly by painter Jules Charest. Posters were still one of the primary modes of communication, and artistically were pushed far beyond previous designs. The United States produced almost 20 million posters for the World War I effort, many focused on recruitment. I could make an entire video about graphic design after World War I and the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War forever changed how the marketing of the Army worked and began the image associated with the Army today. From the draft to a drastic decline in public confidence for the war, the end of the fighting in 1973 left advertisers with having to sell the military to a population that was more wary of them than ever. The focus on designing the Army as effective, powerful, and modern came from the need to build the U.S.'s image in the wake of the Vietnam defeat. Debuting in 2001, the Army logo was made by Leo Burnett Worldwide, a Chicago-based advertising agency. During World War II, American tanks were painted with white stars as national symbols, which is likely where the star for the official Army logo comes from. Below the logo mark are the words U.S. Army, a typeface that many mistake as ITC machine, although the actual typeface used differs, just barely. The official Army colors are black and Army gold. The colors were chosen to represent certain traits of the Army, like knowledge and achievement for black and gold, respectively. Their slogan throughout the 1980s and 90s was, "Be all you can be," which was changed to Army of One and later Army Strong in 2006. What's Your Warrior came out in 2019, and 2023 is seeing a shift back to Be All You Can Be. This new version, however, is a brand refresh that's trying to re-establish the Army, not a simple retread of the original. The transforming identity of the U.S. Army goes in tandem with their advertising campaigns and recruitment efforts, which have many slick, modern, and expensive designs. Expansive campaigns, such as the What's Your Warrior and The Calling, have changed the way advertising works for the Army. There's a heavy emphasis on faces, people, and stories, a stark contrast from all the typography posters 150 years ago. Today, the Standing Army has almost 500,000 soldiers, and over 1 million active soldiers if you include the National Guard Army Reserves. Their graphic design and recruitment efforts have changed over their history, and will continue as recruitment quotas hang in the balance.